Welcome to the Across the Bar podcast, where we talk about why today's headlines are important for your success at work. My name is Peter Rahbar, and I'm your first call on legal issues.
I'm Laura Brounstein, and I should be your first call on comms and content. Hi, Peter.
Laura, feeling so fortunate to have you here. You skipped that dangerous dinner over the weekend, and you're all safe. I didn't have to worry about you.
You did not. I did not go this year. And thank goodness everybody is safe.
Yeah.
And okay, so one of our listeners gives me a very hard time about the fact that our heads are different sizes frequently.
Right. For those of you watching on YouTube.
Yes.
Right.
It doesn't really bother me that much. Does it bother you? I mean, if I had your beautiful features, I would want a close up too. But
I mean, I think you're just like on a higher chair or something.
maybe.
And also, like, I have this like squeezed view that.
Okay, maybe that's better. All right. I'm glad we straightened that out. Peter,
Right,
what
so
a world. What a world.
It's relentless. Every day, is something new. I think everyone just wants a little peace.
Oh, you mean like peace and quiet? I thought you meant like, I want a peace.
Peace, like a moment to themselves.
I think it is a mix between everybody wanting a piece of everything and a moment to themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
my favorite thing on social media, coming out of Saturday night, there was one reporter that was there and was filming herself under the table being like, I'm here at the, Washington Hilton and this is what's happening. And she posted it and someone commented, when I was coming up as a reporter, we were told to point the camera at the news, not ourselves. And it was just so like emblematic of like, today's journalism is often camera pointed at the reporter rather than at the story.
Right. And a lot of journalists were criticized for their, how they covered themselves at the event and their own feelings. But the real, hero of the night, other than the Secret Service agents who, tackled this man, was the guy eating burrata, Wolf Blitzer's agent, just sitting there calmly.
The true hero was that woman that took the 2 bottles of wine.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, you know what, girl? Take the wine and run.
Apparently a lot of people did that. I read a post from the Hilton hospitality manager complaining about how many people stole wine. Sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry.
Listen, it is scarier to be in that kind of situation, I would imagine, than most people expect. And especially if you're going in nervous, you're going to be all hyped up. When I would do events for Center for Reproductive Rights, and we were going to be kind of in public in a red state, we had security and we were scared to death. We did the job anyway, but I think I get why people were worked up and dramatic about it, that were there. I'm sure it was very scary. Shots ringing, who knows?
Of course. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, and it's scary even just watching it on TV and like not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
I could only imagine being there, and I had a number of friends there who I checked in on, and they were all, in the moment, really kind of crazy.
I mean, it is worth noting, which I don't think a lot of the newscasts have made clear, that the guy never got on the same floor as the event.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I mean, someone comes in there loaded up with guns and knives with the intent of going there. Thankfully he was stopped. That's all.
Yes.
That's
yes. All. Thankfully, everybody is safe and it was stopped.
Yeah.
All right. What we're getting to this week, we are going to talk about, surprise, surprise, we're going to talk about AI and whether or not it is indeed cost effective. We are going to talk about Trump White House's involvement in the private sector in several different directions right now, in terms of EEOC and in terms of network licensing.
FCC.
FCC. Exactly.
Right.
So in terms of EEOC, FCC, and a lot of other Cs. And then a crazy question, I think this is fascinating. Can you sue your boss for expressing their political views on social media? What a crazy question. Can we do that first?
It's a good question from a loyal listener. So,
we love that. Can we do that first? Because it's so interesting.
I'm sure this listener will be thrilled to be at the top of the list of our topics. So the question was, I mean, he asked two questions, one that we've addressed many times and one that we haven't. And so the first question was one that's pretty typical. Can an employee be fired, or even a prospective employee not be hired for things they say on social media? And generally the answer is usually yes, with a few exceptions. And then the second question was, can a boss be sued or a manager be sued for things they say on social media and be sued by their employees? And
is that if it's a business owner or just like a corporate boss?
well, it could be, I think they were asking it as a business owner, but I think we could expand it and say, if you're a manager, could it subject you to liability for something you say and from your employees? And I would say generally, probably yes, it could. If it's...
Tell me a scenario where you could.
Yeah, I would say yes in limited circumstances, okay? That's what I was intending to say, which is, something that is on its face discriminatory or racist or sexist or, anti any protected category under the discrimination laws.
If you're an at-will employee, isn't the law's answer then just leave?
Well, the reality is that's what most employees are going to do, right? If you see your boss as a hateful person or is not creating an environment that you agree with.
You have to be a hateful person. Like these days, we disagree so deeply on so many things. There are many things someone could post and not be a horrible person that an employee could take umbrage to. I mean, These days, somebody could put their pronouns on something and people could get upset.
Offend someone. Yeah, obviously. I mean, don't send Steve Miller an email with pronouns. But under limited circumstances. So if you're a boss and you're saying something racist, sexist, and you've already done other things in the workplace consistent with that behavior, and your employee was thinking of suing you for a hostile work environment based on sex or race, like certainly those emails are going to be dragged in, right? But generally, I would say if you're expressing political views or, things of that nature, the employee's remedy is like, you could quit if you don't like it, basically, or even anti-worker messages. Now, some anti-worker messages, if you're in a union environment, those could be viewed as union intimidation or interference. So,
True.
Generally, when I've advised executives on what they should or mostly should not post on social media, we talk about those things, and we talk about what categories of things are okay and what's not okay. But I think this is far trickier if you're a small business owner. You have a very close relationship with employees. Obviously, if you're a major corporate executive, you shouldn't be posting anything without running it through your comms people,
I don't think I've ever told this story publicly, but there was a girl that was working for me remotely a couple years ago. And she was so smart. It was going great. She was like a remote assistant. And she got in touch with me and said, I have loved working for you. I've learned so much from you, and I've learned about following through on my convictions. And I realize I need to dedicate myself to helping women choose life, meaning to not choose to get an abortion or other reproductive health care. And she's like, so I don't think I can work with you anymore because I need to actually dedicate my life to the opposite of what you were working towards. And it was a lovely email, and I was like, wow, okay, I guess, you got to just go. But it was almost the same thing, I guess. I mean, she wasn't a full-time employee, and she was not angry in any way. She was just like, I can't work for you anymore because you want women to get health care. Yeah,
I mean, I think most bosses are smart. I mean, that's a very interesting story and obviously an important decision for that person to make. But, this has come up a lot recently with respect to, the war in Israel and the war in Iran. We talked about Bread's Bakery, where the employees were like, we want you to stop supporting Israel. It came out also this week, Axel Springer and, employees at Business Insider said, Axel Springer has this policy supporting Israel. We think that's too political for our, publication, and that it compromises our integrity. So you should withdraw from that position. And Axel Springer said, no, we're not going to do that. So if you don't like it, don't work here. Now that's like an offshoot, but it's sort of that's where it's usually comes up, and I expect it to come up more as we approach the midterm elections and beyond that. My advice to employers is really just if you own a business or you're a manager, your post should just be non-controversial. Do what I do, post about drinks and food and
I don't know.
sports.
I don't know if
so
I agree
easy.
with you. I disagree with you, actually.
Okay.
I think you have to stand behind whatever you put on your platform, and you have to be willing. You should never put anything on any of your platforms that you're not willing to stand behind. And if you feel strongly about something and you're willing to stand behind it, then you should use your voice. Because if you don't, people don't use their voices right now, more bad things are going to happen.
Well, I think willing to stand behind it in 2026 has a very different connotation, right, than it has in the past. Like, are you willing to endure a public controversy? Are you willing to have the government perhaps come after you?
Listen,
Are you
I've
willing
made
to be investigated?
an active decision to wear Jewish indicating jewelry when I go on TV and on this podcast. And I know that that is a little controversial to some. But the reason I show up in the world is to, challenge misconceptions, maybe. It wouldn't
I hear ya.
to me to not show up authentically that way.
Yeah, well, I think if you're going to do it, then be prepared. Be prepared for the different directions it could go
I've
in.
lost because of it in the last year or so.
Yeah.
But that's not, we could employment.
I personally, I can't be in corporate life because I take things very personally, and I believe in, I have my personal values, expressing my personal values in my work, and that doesn't always work, and so now I just help other people do it. So I found an outlet for that. But I think
openly about being Persian and what that experience has been like during this, and that is really important. Like, that is, I think, that's
sure, but I don't have employees. No one could sue me for it. So
that's true. I don't have employees.
Too bad.
Yes, but you're taking the risk. Like, you are saying to yourself, it's much more important for me to show up authentically as a Persian American than for me to miss out on a client that might not like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
You just have to make that decision.
Yeah. And especially with the incredible lack of attention the people in Iran are actually getting. I mean, so much of the coverage now is just focused on whether the strait is open or closed, when
you have no idea
the people are
happening.
suffering beyond belief.
It's not going to
economy is destroyed. So thank you. That was great. Great idea.
Awful.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for that question.
That was a great question.
See?
All right. Now,
I told you it would be.
Favorite topic, Peter. What things that are wrong with AI?
Yes.
I just put it, just so you know, I just added to my LinkedIn, AI optimist.
Oh, boy. You're going to get a lot of hate for that.
Yeah. Again, I stand behind it. I'm willing to take the hate.
I would say team anti-AI is growing. I hear every day people are now sending me stories about pissed off uses of AI, either at work or in their personal lives.
Video killed the radio star.
Yeah,
Don't
I mean,
fight.
lawyers in particular are very bitter about the things they get that are from their clients that are generated by AI.
I mean,
they then
can
have
you
to
imagine
spend
also
time.
Doctors, when people are coming in and being like, I see here, if I eat more blueberries, I don't need to take my statins. And doctors were like, stop.
Yeah, well, guess what? People are going to get more pissed off because this great efficiency we were told existed.
Jensen Huang just came out with something today.
Yeah, well, a couple people did this week. Jensen Huang obviously is, a very prominent voice, the CEO of NVIDIA, but also the CTO of Uber came out and said, not even halfway through the year, we're in the first third of the year, he's already blown his whole tech budget on AI spending. And a couple of the big tech companies even have said, like, we've spent more on AI to do the functions, that we like than we do on like employees. It's much more expensive. And, that's not even, and that factors in energy costs and stuff, but not factoring in costs on the environment and things like that. And so, you and I have had this debate back and forth. I don't think layoffs really are being driven by AI replacement yet. I think it's being replaced by AI spending.
Yes.
And AI spending
I think that's
is out
really
of control and unsustainable for most companies.
I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of periods of pain as this settles in.
Right.
I don't know.
It's an unavoidable part of the workflow. Like, you need to learn how to adapt and use the tools, and embrace it. And as we've suggested, become a leader on AI. But this thought that it's going to replace everyone, in the next 12 months, I don't see that happening. And the numbers would show
Jobs are going away because of the advent of AI. And whether that is because AI is doing those jobs or they're just not spending on certain functions anymore. There are less entry-level jobs. None of the kids can get jobs.
I think that's a whole different story. And I think there's a debate about these jobs, the massive layoffs at the tech companies. I mean, the reality is these companies went on a hiring spree after COVID, and their employment levels are still above what they were before COVID. I mean, so they're perhaps shedding excess jobs that they didn't need because they wanted to hoard talent. But the kids issue, I'm glad you brought it up.
We should get new unemployment numbers on Friday, right? It's the first Friday of the month, right?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. That they seem to do whatever they want, so who knows if we'll get it or not. The kid issue is like a totally separate one. As you know, one of my favorite, issues, and something that's
Bugaboos.
I really believe in is, like, if you run a company, I will say this again because I've been hearing from parents and from kids who are desperate to find
I want to
internships.
clarify for everyone that Peter does not have any interns before he gives this spiel. Okay? Go on now.
Okay. I'd be happy to take some. So I'll just put that out there.
Oh.
But I think companies have a responsibility to society to employ young people, and that includes interns. And I've heard like a variety of excuses, like, I don't have time, costs too much, blah, blah, blah. Give me a break. All you have to do is pay a minimum wage, and they'd be happy to do anything, you assign to them. And give them some training, take them out to lunch. There are things they could do for a couple of weeks.
Who will train them is part of what's been cut.
But how much training do they need? I mean, they're only going to be there for a few weeks. You could train them to do one task and have them do it.
Yeah, but you've got to have an organized unless you're a very tiny company, you probably want some organizational, boundaries put around it.
Sure.
We all remember what it was like in magazine land before there were any rules about what interns could and couldn't do.
I will say there were certainly abuses. I was involved in one of these intern lawsuits. There were certainly, abuses across the industry.
I was not involved in the lawsuit, but I was involved in drinking many cups of coffee gotten by interns in the 2000s, in the teens.
Yeah, I would say, across corporate America, there were abuses of interns, like people hiring 30-year-old interns or whatever. We never did that, but there were companies that did that. But the over lawyering of the issue, to the point where companies are afraid to hire an intern and pay them $20 an hour, $15 or whatever. That's a terrible outcome. I don't see how that.
Yeah, no,
or it limits the number of internships to just bare minimum levels and prioritizes people with personal connections to businesses. I mean, I think it's a real shame.
I mean, it's a shame that, more local governments or federal governments are not coming up with programs to try to bridge this. If we had a different administration right now, they might have a tech corps for kids coming out of college, or I don't know. There's be lots of different ways to provide some of this early career training for kids with government support that obviously is not going to be a priority at this moment.
Well, it should be. You're exactly right. It should be a priority. And also, I said this, a week or two ago, the government should be playing an active role in incentivizing employers to either hire or retain employees and not replace them with AI.
I haven't seen that they're doing that at all, are they?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be on their radar screen, but that's what they should be doing. And by the way, if you're running for office, you should be talking about that.
I agree. But then look at in New York right now, Alex Borres, who is running in the 12th congressional district in New York, is getting attacked by all the AI companies. Like all these pro AI PACs took like ads out against him basically because he is for regulations. Have you been tracking this?
No,
Yeah.
we should have him on the podcast.
Oh.
I could throw him some support, and you could tell him why AI is so great.
All right, maybe we should do that. But then
Yeah.
I think we would have
Do we have to do
offer-
equal time?
Yes.
We don't want
Ready for George Conway?
we don't want Brendan Carr up our butts.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In so many ways, I don't want that.
Yeah, definitely not.
All right, one of my most favorite. There's been a lot of law stuff this week. Like this is, I feel like, a big week news-wise for Peter Rahbar and all lawyers.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I was all over the headlines.
I mean, not you personally, but the law and the fact that the FCC is now threatening Disney's broadcast license, which is something that typically gets renewed every 10 years. And they are next up for renewal, as I understand it. I think it's 2028 or 29. And yeah, it is when Trump should already be out of office, is when they are up next. And they are asking for an early review due to concerns. And the Kimmel situation, this is clearly on the heels of Jimmy Kimmel making a joke that Melania found upsetting.
Yeah, and a parallel sort of related story came out this week about EEOC staffers, speaking out against the agency being highly politicized and carrying out a very political agenda. And so, the two stories just show government being used as a weapon. In one case against free speech, Jimmy Kimmel, it's a joke. It was, in no way inciting violence or anything like that. I mean, it's merely a comment on the vast age disparity between the president and the first lady.
Yes.
And, not the first time he's made a joke, not the first time he's been a target, and not the first time they've called for his firing.
But Disney this time seemed to, they remember what happened 3 months ago, it seems.
Yeah.
And they really fixed it.
And so they ordered this preemptive review, which is very unusual and is frankly
FCC.
shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shocked and outraged people in the industry. And many people think that ABC and Disney should preemptively sue the FCC and say this is a violation of the First Amendment and really just take it on head on. Now, the new CEO, this is yet another great, moment for him early on in his tenure. Is he going to do that? Or, certainly cutting a deal is probably not going to be an option. And firing Jimmy Kimmel's not going to be an option. And, I think we should all support the Jimmy Kimmels of the world for their right to make jokes. And maybe other people should stop being so sensitive about it.
I also think that, A, a joke should be seen as a joke. And B, when you are somebody that regularly posts your kind of joy at people dying, which Donald Trump does, it's hard to be upset about a joke.
Yeah. And I was at the Knicks game the other night and they showed Stephen Colbert was at the game wearing a Jimmy Kimmel hat. I mean, it made me wish I had one to support him.
Yeah.
But
maybe we could get them. Maybe Jimmy Kimmel wants to come on the show.
Oh, yeah, of course. But using the government as a weapon, and in the EEOC case, we talked about it in prior episodes, but I think it's kind of funny to bring it up because, that one of the enforcement priorities of the EEOC has been protecting white males in the workplace. And there was one case cited in this article where employees had to justify dropping a case brought by a white man who said he was a victim of discrimination because he didn't get a job, when they found out that another white man got the job and that all the other applicants were also white men. There was no non-white male applicants. So that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
It's a proud moment for the government.
Sue and didn't, without taking into consideration or doing the research, due diligence to find out that the person that got the job was also a white man. That's insane.
Yeah. Or maybe they did and they didn't care. They saw the videos the EEOC is putting out saying white men and, Christians should come forward because they need a lot of protection right now.
Oy vey. Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
All right. Next week, we are going to do a summer internship special, everyone.
Ooh.
So Peter feels very strongly about it. I have had many wonderful experiences when I was an intern and then with interns that just were amazing and I went on to work with for years. So everybody, if you have questions about how to engage interns at your office, how to give them a code of conduct, how to communicate with them when they're there, and then if you are a prospective intern, if you have questions about office department, like office etiquette, we are going to answer them next week. So send them.
Also, what would, if you're a business owner or a manager, what makes a great intern? What would you expect to see or hear from them on day 1 or 2 or whatever?
Yeah. All right. Let's do heroes and zeros now. What's
All right.
your zero, Peter?
Oof. Well, my zero, this is a prime example. There's so many crazy things happen that really important stories sort of get swept under the rug. And yesterday there wasn't much reporting on it, but the Attorney General did a sweeping pullback on gun regulations, including, pulling back regulations that regulated or mandated background checks at gun show sales and other things, shoulder holsters, etc. And to do this in a week right after there was an attempt on the president's life, and
So it will be easier to buy guns now at gun shows.
Yeah, right. And I don't know why we're doing this. And it's sad and it's dangerous, frankly. So having an interim attorney general do that on a week where a president was, there was an attempted assassination by someone who had multiple firearms on him. I don't think it's a good idea.
People aren't even saying when there's shooting attempts anymore anything about gun control. I did love all of the memes this weekend where people were like, obviously most schools in America need a ballroom because that's
the ballroom memes are epic. The ballroom memes are epic. And we could probably do a whole rant on unchecked government spending too, and how the ballroom that was supposed to be paid for by the president is now a $400 million budget line item that's going to be paid for by taxpayers.
Did you know? Also, I did News Nation this week, which was super fun. And when I was doing my research for the segment, I discovered that the way the deal is structured for the people donating the money for the ballroom, it is almost impossible to see who is all of the donors and how much they are giving. So there are no protections whatsoever. A, people just siphoning money off, and B, people using it as a way to,
As we repeatedly hear, this is the most transparent president in the history of the countries. I can't believe that. That can't be true. Who's your zero?
So everything to do with that tragic camp in Texas. What's it?
Wow.
Campfire? What's it called? The one where the girls died?
Yeah. Stick, I believe.
There was a hearing today about whether the owners of the camp should be able to continue to run camps in Texas in a slightly different location than the original Camp Mystic. And today, they just said that the trial was happening and Camp Mystic says it will not reopen this summer. This just came out like an hour ago. They're withdrawing their application for a summer camp license. And it really was, the story is so unbelievably sad that those girls died in that flash flood. But from what I was hearing on CNN this morning, part of the tragedy is that the counselors and staff were given absolutely no training for what to do if there was a flash flood. And it was a very clear flash flood zone. And it's just, everything about that is just so sad.
Yeah, we know some families who are, very close to victims of that tragic event. I personally don't think those people should be allowed to operate a camp. It seems like they made a lot of just horrific decisions that other camps...
I'm sure they meant well, but oh my God.
Yeah, other camps in the region didn't make the decisions they made. So, I think that
They were also saying that the original founder of the camp originally did not make the camp part of the American Camp Association because he thought they had too many rules, like telling counselors.
yeah, well,
about emergency
people
evacuation.
hate rules, but it turns out they might actually help in these situations.
Yep, yep. So next time you're about to blow off your company fire drill, do it because these drills can matter.
Yeah.
What's your hero?
All right. My hero is King Charles. I thought he had a great little swing through the U.S. He gave a great speech in Congress. Was very funny. Dropped a lot of jokes. Got people to be civil for an hour or whatever it was.
A brilliant show of soft power in every way.
Came through New York and wowed and dazzled everyone. Had a big party that he didn't invite us to last night, but that's okay. I thought it was cool. That's all.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Good. I agree with the good for him.
Good swing.
And, he has been an environmentalist since the beginning of time, and he did talk about climate change during his speech to joint session of Congress, which I thought was also good for him.
Yeah. It was a nice reminder of like what,
Leaders
at least, well, look, I know there are people who have a lot of issues, with
climate change?
how he's conducted his life and, whatnot. But let's just say during the visit, very civil, very decent, a reminder of like how things could be or used to be. Nostalgic.
Mine's similar. Has a lot of overlap with yours. Mine is on the Devil Wears Prada 2 is about to open. Mine is magazines. And I spent the day this morning doing some meetings at our old spot at the Hearst Tower. And here is to good, high quality, glossy journalism that is researched and well written. And, I was in an event yesterday that was all around health misinformation via social media. And how many young people, especially, are like learning things that are not true because they're asking chat, as you would say, or they're listening to somebody on TikTok.
Or listening to a government official riding his bike in the sauna.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, you know what? These people are filling a vacuum that has been left by the erosion of mainstream media. And, the budget to do things right and to fact check and to do original news gathering, that does take money. And I'm so glad that there are amazing magazines still printing and, on digital and doing all the things. So,
well, here in the AI Skeptics Club, there was a lot of chatter this week about, the return of analog and how because of AI, we're going to be at a point where we're not even going to be able to tell what's real or not on social media and other video platforms. And having a hard copy magazine, being at an event in person with people, talking to people on the phone, those things are making a comeback.
Yeah.
And they should.
I found myself...
I'm all for it.
Something about it having been so cold this winter and how crazy everything is, I am definitely making an effort to go to things in person this spring.
Do things in person. Spend time planning things with your friends. These are fun. These are ways to have fun. Don't do it all on AI.
And
these are things you
wait
could do.
on lines. Yes, that is an analog experience to wait online for that frozen Greek yogurt. But dear Lord,
were you on one of those?
No. No.
Yeah.
A, I can't have dairy. B, no, there's I can't think of what I would wait on a line.
I've been known to wait on a line for something delicious to eat
How
or
long?
drink.
What is your limit of line waiting?
Oof, that's a good question.
More for me.
I think in the last year, the longest lines I've waited on, probably half hour, 45 minutes.
Oh, I don't have it in me. I mean, especially in my own city, I don't have it in me.
Both for sandwiches.
Oh, which was...
Once in New York, once in Durham, North Carolina. How about that?
Oh, what was the New York sandwich?
The Salt Hanks French dip, which is worth waiting for.
Ooh, I want that.
Yeah. West Village, delicious.
All right.
Bleecker Street.
Right, our next
right next to John's. Yeah.
Oh, I love John's Own 12th. They have very good vegan selections, and I'm not vegan, but because I can't have dairy, that is helpful for me when Italian restaurants have vegan options.
Well, you can't have the French dip, though, because it has cheese.
It does? I didn't know French dips had cheese.
Yeah.
Oh, sad story. All right. On that tragic note, that I will never
right.
get French dip.
Well, you could ask for it without, but I don't know if they do substitutions there.
Yeah, those places don't frequently. Okay. Their messages of today are do real things.
Do real things.
Be authentic, but know what you're doing and be willing to stand behind it. And
Hire interns.
hire interns.
Hire interns.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. Do it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you,
All right.
Peter, for producing this gem of an episode.
Yeah.
you,
And
Pete.
thank you everyone for listening, watching, sending in questions.
Yes.
Please send in topics for our intern
Intern
episode.
Palooza next week.
Intern Palooza. Great.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right.
See you soon, Laura.
Bye.
Bye.